Future Hacker. Life. Path. Future.
Welcome back, everybody, to Future Hacker. This is the second episode with Joseph Wehbe. And you know what? When we were talking on the first episode, something that he said caught my attention. So basically recapping, Joseph has this startup. It's an artificial intelligence marketplace. And he was just telling me how you can do this project with a team that it's an outside team. They can build the artificial intelligence project from scratch with a small to medium-sized company. And you can actually do a knowledge transfer to the internal tech team of this company. So this caught my attention because it's so encouraging to hear that for companies that think that it's not only super complex to do that, but that you're going to somehow be depending on this specialized workforce forever. So Joseph, welcome back. I'd love if you could, just go deeper into that and explain a little more how a small, medium-sized company or a small company can actually begin a project like that and just keep using their team.
Exactly, yeah. So that's a really great question, and we love to share the expertise on how it happens. So for a business leader now, a CEO, to make a decision to outsource an AI project, it's really difficult because if you go on one of those freelancing platforms, you feel like you have to depend on somebody to always be there to monitor the project. So once you build an AI project, there's ML ops that's involved, and that's where you have to monitor and look at the entire system in production and make sure it's reliable, it's efficient, and it works the way you expected. So when you hire just someone that's a one-time data project, that doesn't solve your long-term data inefficiencies. So the idea is transferring that expertise, building that AI competency within your team, because it ends up being a single point of failure when you rely on outside teams. So being that we're a managed marketplace, we don't just, give you a team and hands off, right? We want to transfer that fractional expertise to your local team, establish the AI ops, and install that expertise and process, because a model that's built, let's say even pre-COVID, during COVID, all of a sudden, it's not accurate anymore. So you can't go searching for that freelancer that you hired on a platform to improve. You have to look within your own company. And that's where we believe kind of having the impact at the grassroots or at scale, if you will. And that's what, we even chose the name DAIMLAS, because every day we want to be reminded that we need to deliver AI machine learning at scale. And the way that we can deliver that at scale is transferring that knowledge to the company so that they don't just rely on an outside team, because that doesn't help the entire ecosystem.
That's pretty great, Joseph. So moving on, a recurring discussion that we have at Future Hacker is how to avoid bias when it comes to artificial intelligence and machine learning. And, the conclusion is usually the same. It's just obligatory to have a diverse team, right? Not only regarding gender and race and culture, areas of knowledge, and so on. So how do you, or, any company trying to plan that should be getting prepared to address diversity?
We really love this question. I mean, we love all your questions, but this question in particular, because there's really racial diversity, which is, that demographic diversity. There's also cognitive diversity, and then experiential diversities. So by the very nature of our teams, there's the cognitive and the experiential diversity there. Now, the racial part of it, it's really essentially a neuroscience problem where we're looking at it like once we're building these teams and we're understanding what makes these teams successful. We keep on referencing this Canadian national AI strategy, taking that into consideration. How do we mathematically and computationally build these teams globally? Because we can manually assemble teams, but if we're not using technology to scale that globally, then we're not going to have an impact at scale. So that's where we're looking at how the racial part of it. So, it's really three elements of diversity. And now we're, tactically implementing this with our teams is a lot of like contextual intelligence training, high performance team training, leadership training. And that's where we're seeing successful results. And I wanted to just give a quick a quick story on a Silicon Valley venture capitalist who we interviewed with actually a few days ago. So they're top ranked. And he said, if I want an AI project, I can just go to, XYZ, you name it person, and he can give me the best PhDs and they can just do my AI project. Why do I need a marketplace? Now, if we keep that mindset of, I don't want to give this emerging talent, they don't realize that the talent is everywhere, but they're just not giving the opportunity. So with this mindset, really, we can't have an impact at scale at the grassroots. The graduates from MIT and Stanford and all these great programs, they actually don't need us, right? We want to help that next generation of talent that doesn't have access to this opportunity to come onto the AI value chain. And that's where we believe that we can get this diversity problem solved.
That's great. I just love this approach. It's important to cover not only, what companies should be planning, but also the cases that went wrong as a lesson learned, right? So do you have any cases of AI implementation gone wrong to share with us? I personally love the gone wrong stories, right? Because it's hard to hear. Usually it's just about all the success stories and all the case studies. So anything in that line you could share with us?
Yeah, so where we don't have so many cases of gone wrong, but we do have some cases where we've actually wasted a lot of time on projects. And we believe now, if the founder, the owner of this project doesn't understand the business applications of it, then it's a lot of time wasted. So what we're facing now with some of our clients is they're treating it more like a science experiment where you can build models with toy data and really no proprietary data because there's a lot of open source, but what makes your project unique? So we take a step back and, like I said earlier, we look at the AI strategy. What are the drivers of the willingness to pay of your customer? What's the willingness to sell? How do you capture that into your AI strategy? So a client comes in, they want to use computer vision to solve a certain problem. How do we know that this is the right solution for this? It's more of, the business strategy. So strategy at its core describes how a company attains superior performance. And if there's no tie between the business strategy, we're just wasting a lot of time on the AI implementation. So now we actually work with we're calling it like founder market fit, and that quality liquidity of having the right project with the right team and the right founder. We're more focused on securing the best projects that our teams can learn from and are successful for our founders. So I hope that by saving time and understanding the business applications, and that will help these cases gone wrong to reduce in the future.
You know what I feel? What I feel is that AI became like this obligatory word that you have to put on your deck or else you're outdated. And maybe there are just like too many companies saying, just do something with AI so we can say we're doing that. And they're not really doing all the planning behind. And maybe a lot of companies are just wasting the time like that instead of actually thinking about more strategic way of incorporating into the business and actually using that of, just putting it out there just to keep selling somehow. I don't know. Do you see that happening?
Definitely. I mean, we get founders now that come to us that have already raised a bit of money and they already said they have AI in their pitch. And then they're like, okay, what do we do now?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, there's the methodical way to approach it. And then there's just the chaotic way to do it. So we're trying to help at the super early stage. Even if founders have AI in their deck, we still want to find a way to help them.
That's awesome. So let's go back a little to the very beginning of our conversation. So you were, first place winner of MIT Hackathon, which is awesome. Could you share this experience of going through a MIT Hackathon? It just sounds so cool. So how did it go?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was really amazing. It was life-changing. And there was over 1,100 applications and around 800 participants. It was 3 days on Zoom, building, hacking, and winning. And it was really like in MIT, they have this one, literally a fire hose. It was connected to a water fountain. So it was literally drinking out of the MIT fire hose for 3 days on Zoom. And the mindset that you have to approach, it was what problem are you trying to solve that's unworkable, unavoidable, urgent, and underserved? So it's not just pitching, the next social media thing, or you have to tackle a really big problem. And after winning, we felt like this huge sense of responsibility that we need to make this venture work. And during the hackathon, they challenge, it's an amazing group of mentors and community. They challenge all your assumptions, and they understand that Silicon Valley mindset of building something for 1 billion users. And when you want to solve such a massive problem, they actually tell you, what is the single user utility? So you have this huge problem you want to solve. Let's find a way to solve this one problem for one user. And after winning the hackathon, we literally felt like there was a rocket fuel injected in us, and we had to make this happen. So we went through this 5-6 week accelerator, and week 1, it was a lot of ambition setting. Week 2 was problem exploration and definition. Week 3, then we started looking at the solution development. The next week was business model definition. It was a very methodical approach, and the MIT network and drinking out of the MIT fire hose, you really, like I said, you get this huge sense of responsibility that you need to make this work. And I would encourage anyone to really participate in a hackathon, because before, we had to go to Cambridge and do that. Now everything is online, and whether there's a hackathon in your community or somewhere, I encourage you to participate.
Yeah, so talking about that, so you encourage people to take part of a hackathon. So what's your advice to, the future hackers out there that are planning to try this path?
So in life, there's watchers and doers, and you just have to think to yourself, which one are you? Are you going to do something? Now, the whole AI path, you have to really understand how AI affects your industry. So if you're a future hacker, even though AI affects every industry from supply chain to education, how does it affect your industry? How can you work on real world AI projects? And how can you find your peer group or your tribe, if you will, to start on your AI journey? So that would be my advice for someone going on that path. More on the entrepreneur path, I would say, if you're participating in anything entrepreneurship, always be the first to raise your hand, always be the first to pitch. Always try to be a leader, not wait for others to pitch their idea, because that'll gravitate people towards you. And if you're building a team remotely, you have to ask your team, what is their motivation? Why do they want to be an entrepreneur? Because as Elon Musk said, entrepreneurship is like eating glass and staring into the abyss. So it's really a difficult path. So you have to really be sure, exactly. You have to be really sure that this is something you want to do. But I'm encouraged by the words of a Silicon Valley investor, Gary Tan, who said, there's infinite problems, infinite capital, and infinite people. There's so many problems around us to solve. You just have to go out and make it happen. And entrepreneurship, to me, I believe, is not a part-time thing. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, the time is now. You should just do it.
I love every single word you said. I love it. Thank you. Joseph, thank you so much for your time. But, before we finish, how can people learn more about your platform? And, besides that, and if you could share with us, what are your plans? So what's next for you guys?
Yeah, thank you so much, Maria. I really enjoyed chatting with you. And like I said, I love the work you're doing. The best place to follow up with us is on LinkedIn. So just follow DAIMLAS, our company page on LinkedIn. And our AI strategy workshop, usually we used to keep it reserved just for our clients. We're opening up now to the entire community. We really want to help companies at the early stage get started. So what we need help with now, we have these amazing teams that are vetted, that are ready to take on projects. We are looking for really interesting projects for these teams. So connect with us on LinkedIn, and we'll be happy to chat about your AI journey.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you so much. You have the doors open with us. I'm pretty sure that you guys are gonna rock. That's a super cool market, and you're literally trying to solve a pain that is needed. We've been talking a lot about the urgent need of having qualified workforce so we can keep moving and innovating and disrupting the market. And that's where you are at, and helping out the market. So thank you so much for that. And we're all cheering for you.
Thank you, Maria. I'll say it for the third time. I really love your work and your podcast, and keep on doing the great work you're doing supporting the ecosystem.
Future Hacker. Life. Path. Future.